You're listening to Permission to Shine, the podcast by Sherisse Bisram. The Oxford Dictionary describes permission as the action of officially allowing someone to do a particular thing, consent, authorization. What if you were that someone and you gave yourself the permission to be everything you wanted to be and more? No more playing small and accepting less than. You are worthy of the life of your dreams, regardless of what it is that you've been through. And honestly, it's exactly what you've been through that has shaped you into the version of yourself that you are now. Like a diamond, you've endured so much, but instead of breaking, you have become stronger and brighter. And if that's not a reason to shine, then I don't know what is. And if nature can do it, then why the hell can't you? You are brave, you are strong, you are powerful, and you are enough. Hear my call and give yourself the permission to shine, because you don't realise how many people are inspired by your light. Like, share, follow, subscribe, and listen out for more. Stay tuned. Okay, amazing. I'm so excited because today I have the amazing Priyanka that is joining me. So this is episode 14. So hello, Priyanka.
Hiya, hi everyone.
Amazing. So Priyanka, do you want to tell everyone what your title is and who you are?
So my name is Priyanka, and I have worked with Sherisse as a dancer previously. I work in the kind of community space, in the wellbeing space. I'm a dance teacher, facilitator, a community organizer, and just a well-rounded human, I like to believe. So
Yeah, absolutely that. No, 100%. And I think, I feel like with us two, we kind of bonded over like, probably this like element of like spirituality, I would say, like I feel like we had that kind of common thread, didn't we? Like our conversations weren't surface level, and I feel like that's why we kind of vibrated together a little bit more, and that's why I wanted to get you on as well, because I was like, this like wholesome conversation, like you said, the humanness, that's everything, that's my jam. I'm like, we are here to live and feel and be, and it's all connected, mind, body, soul, vibes, fully that. But
sure.
Tell everyone about you. So, like who you are as a whole, obviously it's in a nutshell, but, like your upbringing, the parts of the things that have happened in your life that have made you the version of you now.
Yeah, so I think the best way to start is like when I was young, I was the shy girl in the back of class. Like I wouldn't be that person. And so a lot of people these days are like, how are you a teacher? How are you like owning spaces? Not necessarily owning spaces, it's a weird way of describing it, but holding spaces for people. How are you facilitating groups and speaking in the way that you are now? Dancing is obviously seen as a very out there thing to do. So even my mom said the same thing. I just don't understand how you've gone from that person to this person. So and it's something I'm proud of actually. In that before I wasn't so proud of it. I used to try and hide it a lot and kind of be like everyone else and just try and shout a little bit more. Whereas now it's more like, cool, I am that person, but being that shyer person, that quiet person meant that I was very reflective and that I was kind of aware of the people at the back of the room. So to hold a space, you have the louder characters, the quieter characters, but because I've been that quiet person, I know how it is to kind of bring everyone into that space. But yeah, that was me. And then quieter person, come into different roles, into different jobs, found some confidence and just kind of like let it bubble up really. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that's so important. I think in a lot of what I say as well about there's so many layers to us as humans. And I think being quiet doesn't mean that you feel less than, sometimes it is about that observation and that taking it all in. And actually, like you said, having that experience of maybe being the more introverted person makes you hold the space so much more inclusively, which I think is really beautiful. And I think that's a sign of a great practitioner, isn't it? The fact that you are aware of everyone in that space, especially with the way that you teach and you embody everything that you are. And I'd love to like go into a bit more about that, because like your even like your dance style and like who you are as a person, it's all contained in this like kind of holistic kind of space, I don't quite know what to call it, like maybe the container that you hold, but I'd love to know kind of like how you found that within yourself, you know, like this fusion of lots of different things, like, because that's who you are, right? So I'd love to know a bit more about that, really.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you reflect that back, because I think what that is just because I started quite late in life, because obviously I was that quiet person, so I wasn't the first person to jump into a dance class or a very out there space. It was very scary for me. I remember sitting in cars and literally being like, no, I'm not getting in there, mum. No, I can't do it. Like, I'd literally just sit there and be really nervous about it. And I was fully grown. I was like in my teenage years, but I was just nervous of being in spaces that I wasn't comfortable in. So it took a lot to get there. So when I did finally kind of make a little bit more noise or go to a class, or even not even that soon on, but later on in the career when I started to build things about myself, and this is a style I choose to grow or to learn, or this is the way I choose to be, a lot of that was coming with who I was, because it took me so long to find that. So then when I was there, I was like, right, cool. I know that this is an important part of me. I know that this is an important part of me. I know that this is an important part of me. So they all had to come along. It wasn't just, I think if I started a lot younger, I might have just been like, right, this is the style. This is completely the style on my body. Whereas now, when I'm older, I'm coming in like, this is me. I want to represent this inclusivity. I want to represent this part of my culture. I want to represent the other part of my culture. I want to represent wellness. So it all kind of comes and becomes this blended thing that just kind of presents itself in different ways. So I guess that's the years of silent work that just shoot up when you decide to make some noise. I like that little reflection back. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's I always find that as well when I have conversations with people, how they say my story back to me. I'm always like, really, wow, my life's been so profound. You know, like it's those moments, isn't it? Yeah. Oh.
Must be a Leo thing, you know, when you hear yourself back to be like, wow.
Yeah.
So nice.
Absolutely. And I was going to talk about that as well, because obviously we're both Leos, but very different, because I think I've never really been shy. I mean, saying that, I think there probably has been moments in my life I've been shy, but then I think for me, trauma's made me be loud. So I think that's the difference. I think times where I could have been introverted, I wasn't. But then I feel like, probably like you now, I've found a way to adapt everything that I am, like, and cultivate it into something like deeper and more meaningful. Like, I feel like everyone expects me to be the loudest in the room now, and I don't need to be, which is great. I feel like that was my ego before. Like, it was, you know, I want to be seen and heard and all these things. Whereas now I wait for my chance to speak, or I wait to be spoken to before I actually open up. And I think that makes what you have to say so much more deeper and like relates more and all of that. But equally, you know, take your shot if you feel the moment's there. But I think
just because in that same thought, just to jump in quickly,
yeah.
because you said so it's like a knowing laugh, like that, you know, you said that trauma made you loud. I think the trauma made me quiet. So it's almost like with that, finding that balance is everybody's game. Like sometimes we start too loud, sometimes we start too quiet, but then we eventually have to work through that crap to get that middle ground. So
yeah, and this is what this is all about for me, really. It's like understanding our stories and owning them, and really taking that in, and like on such a deep level, it's like absorbing it, you know. It's not just it sitting on the top. It's like, this is all of what you are, you know. The loudness, the quietness, the shyness, the introvertness, all of these things make you who you are, and it should be embodied in every layer, like, of us. And I think that's something that we, you know, we're so taught to be a certain way or have this certain way of being, that I think we forget how important all of that is, and that's why you are the enriched human that you are, because of all of those things. And I'd love to just pull that a little bit apart from you in, you know, when you said about the traumas made you quiet, would there have been times in your life where you'd been like silenced, you know, like told to remain quiet and small?
Yeah, for sure. Without getting too deep, I might start crying on the podcast. For sure, I think just ways that we've been raised, and there is a personal tendency to be on the quieter side as well. So I think when that becomes part of a natural tendency, but also something that's looked down upon, and I can hear it even today. You hear it around, like if a child is kind of, hear it within my own family, when a child is kind of a little bit shyer, or, you know, just wants some space and just wants to play on their own. So, oh, do she's going to be quiet when she's older. Oh no. And it's almost like, it's not a problem. Like, why are we, she's literally 2 years old. Can we just relax a second and let the child grow, let the explore, you know, on her own or with other people, however she wants to do it. But that kind of, you almost get that narrative drummed in your brain that you can't speak. And then it's almost like, if I do speak, then am I enough for speaking like this? Or, you know, there's all these other things that start to play. But yeah, definitely was used to not speaking out of fear or out of kind of judgment and that kind of thing. But then I also have a tendency of taking things in quite, it's not, wow. Previously, yeah, maybe personally, or taking it very, I would really analyze a lot of things like, oh, but if it was said like that, does that mean because I'm doing this? Or because I'll take it in and reflect it on myself. So kind of would take responsibility for a lot of things, which again is not healthy, because then you don't, yeah, it's harder to, I guess, defend yourself because you always think you've done something wrong. Yeah. So yeah, that definitely plays a role. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that's an empath thing, that you absorb like what's been said to you, but also like almost a bit of a low self-esteem, because if you believe everything that everyone else is saying about you and you take that on board, that's yeah, you kind of being a sponge. But that's the element of self-worth, isn't it? You know, when you build up your own self-worth, it's almost that it acts as like a barrier, so then other people's comments that bounce off of you rather than being absorbed into you. But it's that thing of when it's all you know and all you've ever heard, you're just like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, you know, for me, I was loud and aggressive because that's what everyone said. So I owned it. I was like, yeah, cool, I'm the loud and aggressive one, everyone. Take it all in. And actually, really and truly, I'm not aggressive at all. I mean, I can be if I need to be, but I can't remember the last time I've been aggressive. I can't even remember the last time. But, you know, equally, it's all down to people's perspectives, isn't it? You know, 9 times out of 10.
I also think I also think it's funny because we probably met when we met probably the first time. I think maybe you were still in that little bit in that phase.
Absolutely.
In that phase. Okay. So you were still in that. It's funny because you were in that phase and I was in, not necessarily, not that I wasn't I was in my own phase, but still my quieter self.
Yeah.
And I still am that person. But it's funny how we still got it. We still were gravitating to each other in an interesting way. Like, we're very different personalities, but you would think, so you would almost think, oh, how does that work, right? But there's almost like a knowingness of like there's always, with certain people, there's a knowingness of, I see why you're confident, or I see why you're a little bit quiet, right? But I see that your intention is to defend. And I always feel like defenders are quite, you feel safe around other defenders, right? You feel like that person, she might have missed the mark and said nothing, or she might have missed the mark and said too much, but she's at least representing a truth that we feel that we can be like, oh, that person's safe to be around, or something like that, which is nice. And then obviously, like you said, the spiritual thing and all the other stuff. But it's funny, isn't it? Sometimes you don't get that with, there's certain people that I'm just like, no, stay over there with you. I was like, okay, there's something there that's all right. There's a vibe that's
you know what it is? You know what I feel like? And that was really beautiful how you said it, is integrity. I think when you feel like people are in their integrity, regardless of like whether it's too much or too little, I think when you know that they're fully in who they are, I think that's a really beautiful space, isn't it? Because I think we're surrounded by people pretending to be something they're not, or people that don't know who they are at all. So I think it is maybe that element of people just standing in who they are, you know. And I think a lot of it is a journey, you know. We get to that point, and I think when I did meet you, fully in my toxic masculine, like fully, you know, unhealed and all of those things, but I feel like at my core, I've always known who I am, you know. And I think that's probably something that people have always related to me with, because even in that phase of my toxic masculinity, I had friends that I'd had for my lifetime. It's actually only been since I've done the healing work that I started to lose friends, but it's because they were attached to the old version of me. And I think, I think that's something that I'm proud of myself for, is always being in having that integrity to myself. And I think it's, like you said, that defender thing was great, because you're so right. I feel like that's it. You're defending yourself, your honor, your grace, all of these things, isn't it? You know, but through the trauma and all of that stuff as well. But yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about, you know, like how you got into like the community stuff and like all of that, because I think Had you always done the community work and then went into dance, or has all of it sort of kind of transformed and blossomed?
Yeah, how does it work? So, well, I did psychology at uni. So that was probably, I was already on that route of like, I thought I was going to be a clinical psychologist and go down that route, or even a psychiatrist. I don't know what they call them nowadays, but yeah, I was going to do the whole study thing. So dance was, it was never a route for me because I didn't see it as a job. I didn't see it as a thing, just in the way I was raised, I just didn't see it as an option, as a career, right? So then it was like something that I knew I liked to do. I did it in my bedroom, and just a very side piece thing. And then did my uni, did my degree. During uni, I remember like trying to search for places to train, places to dance, just to start that journey. And that came from that feeling, when you're not doing something. Yeah. And I'd watch dancers and literally just cry. I would literally be a grown person just crying, why can't I dance? And I was like, Frankie, you can go to a class, like you can literally train, like you can make this happen. But I was just like, how? Like, where do I go? Where do I even start? And so then during uni, that journey of, all right, let me start looking at classes. And then I started to train and that whole thing. So the dance journey began when I was a lot older. The psychology degree was there. But even whilst I was during uni, I was kind of shifting my worldview. So I think I went into it thinking very much like, right, formal ways of wellness, formal ways of helping people. What's the route? Psychology, become therapist. Like that was what I thought was the way. During uni, I was very kind of influenced by like, Carla, Loki, the whole the conscious rap scene, that person. I was like a legit Akala groupie. Like I was there 24/7 at all of these shows, reading all the books, that person. And then I started to view the world in a more of a like social, the way that society plays a massive role in our wellness. So then that element came in, and then I was thinking, right, I'm a dancer now. I've got my psychology degree, but I want to work on like the community is important to me. Sorry about the dings. The community is really important to me. So how can I bring these all together? And then I suppose just worked in spaces to kind of make that happen. My first job was actually in a domestic violence refuge. I was running I was the group worker, so I'd run like group sessions in schools, colleges, talking about healthy relationships and kind of abuse and all that kind of stuff. But then when the first few months I was there, I was like, didn't feel right. Like I can't just go into a school and start talking about abuse. Like this, it wasn't doing the impact I wanted it to have. So I thought, let me switch it. Let me talk about assertiveness. Let me talk about confidence. Let me talk about just healthy communication, because that's really what we want to know. We don't want to know that we need to know the statistics. We need to know those things. But to tell a young person, right, these are the statistics, good luck, here's the red flags. Like, what skill set have you given them to be like, actually, this relationship is unhealthy. Let me just, like that kind of confidence to even have a healthy relationship. So I was doing a lot of that. I started working with kind of survivors of abuse in that group session work. So that was my first job. During that, I was kind of traumatized, I want to say. It's like, this is way, I was like, why am I working here? Hold on a minute. There's a few little personal links there. And I was like, right, this clearly I'm here for a reason, but also it's getting too close to home. So I need to step out. And as a result of that, I went into dance because I was thinking, right, dance for me is a wellness thing. And I can give that space and I can facilitate a space that aids people that are struggling with communication, with just life, space to dance, but dance in a way that is going to just be just a fun thing to do, not like pressure, not like necessarily training, but just something that is a social tool for well-being, like they call it socio-psychological or something like that. I don't know the formal terms anymore because it's been so long that I've just been doing the work, right? But yeah, just using that as a wellness thing. So, and then that's just become my journey. So like the intention is always how to make this world slightly more nicer place to live in. But then I'm like, what do I enjoy? Because my joy is also what is going to facilitate that joy in the space, and my joy is dance. So, right, cool, dance and well-being, here we come. And then it's just kind of spiraled. And then in my normal dance classes, like the kind of training type dance classes, the well-being element is always there because it's just a thread. It's just who I am. So it just comes out. And a lot of people comment on that. So it's always very surprising to me when I haven't structured a class in a well-being way. But a normal class, they'll be like, wow, I felt so safe, or I felt really this is the safest space I've been in, or you make us, and I'm like, okay, that's good to know, because then it's just, I'm just doing it. It's like a natural way of being, which I like that about me, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved all of that. And for anyone that's listening and not watching, I'm nodding the whole way through Priyanka's talk. And it's actually, yeah, really, like you said, so many key things there that I could just like pick up on. And I think, yeah, just I love how you like maneuvered your way through your life based on your feeling. And I think that's something that I'm like calling to the high heavens to women. I'm like, you have intuition, use it. And that is it. Like every time you felt that something was a bit wrong or a little bit off, you were like, this doesn't feel right now. Like, how do I feel? What do I need? And that's such a beautiful tool that we should all be taking so much, advantage of, because it's natural to us as women, and then also like your journey into dance and well-being for me is like, I've done the same journey as you, but reverse. So, like, it's quite funny, isn't it? That, like, you started off in psychology and the wellness element was obviously fed into that. And then you found dance and it took you there. Whereas I started off in dance, did my healing journey, and then ended up like forging the same type of thing, but in a different way, even down to you saying about how you facilitate the space. That was something that when I got to lockdown and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, that was something that I remember people saying to me, is that like, you always give me so much more than dance. I always come out of your class feeling so like I can unstoppable, like I can change the world, and I feel like that's it, isn't it? That's your proof of you're doing the right thing. And I think the fact that we've both found this element and this way of doing it in our own ways is just incredible. Like I feel like some people get caught up when people are doing the same thing as them, but for me it just means that this message of, like you said, making the world a better place with being who you are just reaches further and wider. And I think that's really like our goal in what we're doing, isn't it? Really, it's that, we want to help change the world in the most healthiest way. And it's funny when you mentioned the Carlo, because I'm that person as well. Like I was like, I found him quite late as well. But everything he was saying was just like, yes. And that's really, for me, I think the start of lockdown, I've always kind of been quite conscious in a way, like a loose way. But when end of 2019, 2020, that was when I went all in and I was like, cool, like this is the world. And I'd had an element of that. And maybe that's probably how we bonded as well, was maybe that we looked at the world in a different way. And I think you can tell those folk, that those folk be your folk,
100%. You can definitely tell us. I don't know how, but you can tell those folks for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's so powerful and just like beautiful. And it is lovely, because I think, knowing more of your story as well now, like the way you dance is so elegant and almost gentle, actually, I would say. And you find a way to make it yours. Like I know, because obviously I have some of the people that you teach on my socials, because we've done like other things before. And I know straight away when it's your choreography. I could just tell. It's like the embodiment of who you are is like it through them even, and that's such a beautiful testament to you, of your talent and also your grace, and everything you do. And I would definitely say that it's really nice to kind of trace that journey back with you, to see the delicateness, and maybe that's part of who you are as a person, that delicateness that you have about you comes through the dance, which is just so wonderful. And I think I think that's really the goal in life. I think to know who you are and what you want to do with your life. And we can ebb and flow, we can chop and change it, but if you keep connected to who you are and what you want, I think you're always going to end up happy, which is something that doesn't sell, right? We can't sell happiness in a bottle, but and people aren't willing to do the work for it. But it is just as easy as listening to that little nudge in your body that's like, no, this doesn't feel right. And I think that's just so lovely. But I guess on your journey, like with where you, like how you've gone through your career, but equally through your life, would you say that there's like common themes that come up for you? You know, like a lot of people say imposter syndrome, or, you know, self-doubt, like self-sabotage. Are they like common things that you can say, right, in my career I noticed it then, in my life I noticed it then, and like how you've been able to like overcome through these themes?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of there's those. Obviously, imposter syndrome is, I think we all kind of, not we all, but a lot of people have that. Like, that's for real, especially because I didn't, dance formally at uni. That was a massive thing. It still is there, but I try to ignore it as much as I can because it's been long enough now to. I can't do the same. And you have the same narrative. You're like, Priyanka, relax. Like, it's been 6 years. Stop telling yourself that you're not a dancer. Like, relax. So I try not to do that, but I still do it. But I also understand why I do it. So I give myself the grace to be a bit like, it's okay, forget about it, and you carry on, because I still do the work. It's not like I'm stopping myself. So I kind of ignore that one now. I think the self-esteem thing, like you picked up on it before, like that's always been a battle for sure. But for me, navigating that has been work, like do the work. And then you're like, oh, I can do it. Cool. You know that thing when doubt, I don't know, there's a whole quote, but like the response to doubt is action or something like that. Like if you have a doubt, you hear it, but if you start hearing it and being like, oh, okay, then you're done for, right? Whereas if you're like, I got the doubt, cool, what's the plan about? Like I literally will write it down. My fear is this, what's my action? Go to the da 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 da, do it. And then once you've done it, you're like, okay, it's not that bad. Like you've tackled it, right? So that's a good thing. A recent thing for me has been recent thing that's come up is like the freezing thing. You know, when there's like the fight, flight, freeze is like a third one, right? I don't fight. I go quiet. I'm just like, oh God, like I would freeze up a little bit. And that makes me quite like something I'm working on still, so I don't have a solution for it, but it's definitely something that I'm like, it's not nice. It's not a nice feeling to feel like you can't. Then we talk about defenders, right? So it's funny that I was like, I saw myself as a defender. I see you as a defender. Maybe that's why I like defenders, because they're like, right, if I'm frozen, I need someone to be fighting my corner, So there's that thing, that freezing that happens in me that can be a bit like, come on, Priyanka, say no, or say, this is how I feel. So it takes me a lot of emotional like work. Like I've done it recently where like there's been phone calls or there's been issues or there's been stuff happening in life where I'm like, right, well, no, I have to make sure I say my piece here, but it will do a lot of, I have to prep for an hour before and then I have to reflect for an hour after just to make sure that I'm doing okay in that space. But yeah, that recently. Yeah. Is that relevant to what you asked? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was absolutely spot on. No, thank you for sharing all of that. And I think it's always nice as well that I like you've have a really good way about explaining the feeling and how it made you feel and how you processed it. And I think that's something that when you have like deep trauma, a lot of people that haven't done the work, they don't do that part. So they tell you about what it was and then they skip the section, whereas you've been able to give us a really nice clear pathway there, which is lovely because you identify what the problem is and then you tackle it like you said. And it is definitely that thing. It's like with like the journaling, it's like letting it out of your mind, isn't it? It's like, how can you look at it in front of you, this problem, this fear, and work through it without it debilitating you? Because that really is it, isn't it?
Step back,
Absolutely.
right? Like there's that thing, because we're in it and we're like, oh, I can't see it.
Yeah.
Take a step back, work it out, you'll be okay. Like you'll actually be okay. Just take a step.
Yeah, and that's a practice that I do all the time as well for myself, like being in these vulnerable spaces now of like creating something from scratch and everything being new and just diving in. And I was so scared at the beginning of, my journey of this pathway of like, well-being and empowerment and like doing the speaking and the courses and stuff. I was scared to tell people about it. I was almost a bit like, oh gosh, like, and it's funny because I guess I was afraid of judgment, but equally, like, I know the other side of that from being a dancer and being constantly judged, and that's something that I'm so thick-skinned about. But in this space where it was new, I was so vulnerable about it, and I had to just keep stepping back. And even still, I'm doing that. I'm like, if a bit of fear comes up, I'm like, cool, I see you. What do we do now? And sometimes I sit on it. Sometimes I let myself just be like, maybe I just need a moment with this, and then we'll get clarity. But I think that is almost, with your tools and practices of how you manage your way through it's like resilience, isn't it? Is you have to build up these skills for yourself to be able to trust yourself and all of these different things. But it's practice, isn't it? And consistency, I think, in everything. You know, it might feel heavy this time round, like when you're just going to do it for the very first time, of zooming out, seeing it in a bigger perspective and writing it down. It might still feel quite overwhelming, but you know, in a year's time, like you said with the imposter syndrome, it's something that you just know is there. It's a quiet whisper. It's not debilitating. It's just, you see it, you're like, okay, boo, nice to see you, peace out, you know. But with the fear thing, the freeze, sorry, that is so there's so many women that I speak to that are in the same boat as that. And it's the confrontation thing, isn't it? You know, that fear of confrontation is, you know, it's so scary. And especially when you've had a low self-esteem at times in your life, that's like someone putting you on the spot or putting you in a comfortable position that you feel like you've done so much to get yourself out of that space, that almost that idea that someone's questioning you or the situation is like so offensive right then, that you're like, oh, like, I don't know what to do. But, you know, like you said, the step back, the pause, taking your time for you. And I think from being someone that's on the other side of that, you know, from being the person that was very confrontational, and I'll say now, I am still confrontational, but in a very different way. Like, I'm super diplomatic. And even in arguments, prior to me doing the healing work, I was still diplomatic in a row. So although I came across as quite aggressive, what I was saying was very fair. But again, if you're shouting it, doesn't sound fair. So that's what I'd have to work on. Yeah, for myself, absolutely. That now I can just, you know, have an argument or a disagreement without raising my voice or anything like that. But I think that really is it. I think we live in this such a fast-paced world that we feel like everything needs to be sorted and done and dealt with there and then. But, you know, taking time to pause, taking time to go inward, feeling it, that is all part of the humanness of like what we need to do in order to be able to move through things in a really comfortable way and to be able to move forward. Because equally as we're trying to move forward in our lives and push forward, we can't go backwards. So there's no point trying to avoid a situation and running away from it, because equally you're going to have the same result. You're going to feel less than, aren't you? So it's like, yeah, finding those beautiful ways that work for you. I think that's really it. I feel like in this like coaching, well-being, mentoring space, there's a lot of like coaches and mentors that have a one size fits all, and I think that just doesn't work. Just doesn't work.
God. Yeah, for sure. Like even that word, well, even though I use the word well-being, because we have to use like coaching as well, you have to use those words because people will notice what you mean. But I just like, because it's become a trend and become everyone is doing a well-being something, everyone is doing something. I'm like, I have that thing, and I don't know if it's I don't know, maybe it's a Leo thing, I don't know. But it's almost like, not don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
It's an element of don't tell me what to do. It's an element of you don't know me. It's an element you don't know my history. You know what? Like there's so much nuance in like the humanness that we're talking about. Like, so that one phrase of like, well-being, I've come to my well-being and you'll be well. No, you won't. Like I already know that. I don't claim to give you anything. Like there's just no way, right? You have to do the work, and it's gonna be like even the imposter syndrome that we're talking about. Like I said, I still have it, even though I've been pushing back slowly and I've never win a little bit, don't win again. Like it's almost like we talk about a lot of this stuff, but really we do the work, but then we also don't win at the work. We just do the work. And over time, you just soften it. Like you said, it's like no longer debilitating. You just see it, and it's no longer like, oh God, it's not a surprise anymore, because you're not running from it, you're not fighting it, but you also there's just no one solution for everybody, right? So it's so easy with this Instagram world or any kind of fast-paced world where you're just like, this must be my answer. It could be a way, it could be a part of your toolbox, it could be a solution, but there's also you are involved in it. Your context is involved. That there's so much to us, right? And so much to the person there's so much to me. There's so much to you. So even when I'm working with somebody or working with a group, like I'm still bringing my crap. Like I'm not some guru, you know? So there's almost like, there's so much dynamism that's going on that sometimes you just can't write it down. You can't give a solution. But it's just nice to have people to do the work with and to have that support, like those kind of like, you know, when people say speak life into people, like when you have people around you that are just speaking life, like, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that reflected back. I needed someone else to lift me a little bit, because we all need that. We definitely need it.
No, 100%. I completely agree with everything you said. And I think for me, it's the label, like we have to, like you said, we have to be categorized for people to identify us, but that's not all we are. And I feel like that's, it's like I've been speaking about quite a lot, is that label, because I actually hate the term coach. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I prefer mentor, because I feel like it's someone that's holding your hand through something. And like you just said, like I feel like a coach will get you from A to B, whereas a mentor will take you through a process. And I think that's really how I see my work, is that I'm literally just giving you tools and I'm helping you work through them. If they work for you, they stay. If they don't, we try something else. And I think that's really how I like to facilitate. And like you said, that speaking life into you, I love that saying, because that really is, when I did my healing journey, I did it all on my own, and it was so hard. Like, no one understood what I was going through. My whole personality changed. It was so difficult. So I think, like you're saying, having someone or people to be in a group setting with and just bounce off of, and that energy, that we are part of herds, and tribes. That's where we originate from, and we've so lost that in this world. So I think that, again, part of the humanness is being around others, and lockdown pulled that away from us as well, didn't it? So yeah, I think, all the work that you do to create these spaces, whether it's dance led or well-being led, or however you're facilitating it, just you in that space is always lovely and great, because that's who you are, and you go in fully. And I feel like yeah, I would say I'm exactly the same, just show up as human. There's no, like, exactly me is the same in every scenario, whether you see me on a night out, whether you see me in class, whether you see me delivering a talk to like hundreds of people, I'm exactly this every single time. And I think, again, that's what we come back to, where how we first met, is that integrity to who we are. And I think that's, maybe a golden thread of the episode, is that, being integral.
Integrity.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's quite funny, actually. One of the girls I taught today, her badge said integrity. So I wonder if that planted the seed for me. Never know.
Maybe. What
Yeah.
was the? I had a therapy session this morning. I'm not ashamed to say,
Yeah.
and the word that she used, it's not integrity. So I'm just trying to think if there's a thread. I'm trying to make a thread because I love it when there's things that are threaded.
Yeah.
What was it? I called myself standoffish and stubborn, which is very opposite to how we'll be describing my welcoming nature. And also, I can be a bit like, stay over there. Like, this is I'm very boundaried. If I'm not safe with you, boom, clean cut, and I have no stress about keeping that boundary there. I'm very happy to maintain that. But my face also is one that, was there a post that's like, my face needs to use its inside voice or something like that? When your face is just like not,
Yeah.
it needs to,
I love that.
Play. Yeah, I need to learn that. But yeah, what was so my therapist was talking about how stubbornness is not a bad thing, and she called it tenacity. So I don't know if tenacity is not in the same as integrity, but that tenacious.
Yeah.
And I think you have a
that
similar vibe where it's great. It's like, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm
absolutely.
Yeah,
100% that. Yeah, it's that knowing, being true to who you are. It's all of that tied in. So it does connect. I would say it definitely does connect. There's something else that you said there that I wanted to touch on. I don't know, it's gone now.
Boundaries?
Yeah, boundaries. And that was it, the introvert. So, like being introverted, naturally, it's quite easy to cut people off because you can pull back so much. So it's almost like stubbornness would be like a shadow element of being introverted, but equally it's not, because it's like part of who you are, the makeup of who you are. So that when we talk about multifacetedness of this particular introvert type, a lot of extroverts find it really hard to cut people off because they're so in it. So actually it's a superpower and a strength.
Interesting. I never thought about it like that. Yeah, because my safe space is go like on my own, right? Whereas if I feel bomb, just dropped a bomb. That is, and I think that's why it can go too far sometimes, because I'm like, right, this is not healthy boundary. It becomes boundary, never talk to me again, I'm running. I'm safe here away from you, rather than boundary. It takes a lot of work for me to be boundaried and healthy. That's why it can come off standoffish rather than boundary. I like that. Yeah,
and
that's true.
And then with that, do you find that you probably in the past had an avoidant attachment style?
Avoidant, what would that look like? Avoidant attachment
so
would be...
like if people get too close to you, you pull back. or like in romantic relationships and settings, if it got too much for you, you'd like pull away.
I would often tell people to run. Yes, that was my thing. Go and run, then. Go on, then. Like that, and I suppose that is me avoiding. You know. So yes, I guess.
Yeah, that because the other one is anxious. So anxious would be like, "Don't leave me, stay with me." Do you know what I mean? So like avoidant in that sense, it'd be like, "Go on, then, off you go." Like you're pushing them away. So it's that pullback.
Yeah, I can probably swing between the two as well, but quite
absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's human, right? That's part of the humanness. But I just felt like it was relative to that conversation of detachment. You know, like it kind of made sense. But no, I love all of that. So on the theme of, obviously, the podcast is called Permission to Shine. What would you say was, like, looking back on your life, what was really that moment that you can look and say, yeah, that's when I really did give myself permission to be me fully?
I think it's stages. There's been stages for sure. I don't think I'm fully there yet, which is exciting. First stage would have been when I decided to do the dance and wellbeing stuff and actually run my own sessions with different groups. And I think the first session was with a Parkinson's group where I did a little dance session with them. And that was like me kind of doing my own promotion and reaching out to community spaces and going to deliver. And that was the first time, like, out loud saying, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it, and taking that step in. Did that, COVID hit, maintained things online, did the best I could. Second stage would probably be these recent classes, the unboxed, quote unquote, unboxed, unnamed classes, where it's been like, this is how I dance, this is how I want to dance. Doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense in the style, doesn't have a name, hence why unnamed, because I don't know what is going on there. But I also know I want a space to breathe. Yeah, I didn't want that restriction of it has to be a particular style, it has to be a particular song, has to be I was like, this is me as a teacher, this is how I dance. People seem to like it, I like it, this is what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to build it and I'm going to let it grow. It probably will grow slowly, but the right people will find me and it will flourish. So that was a new level of, even calling something unboxed and unnamed was like, am I crazy? Like, who the hell is going to know what the hell that is? Because they're not going to know, right? They have to really trust me and take that step with me, like really trust me as a teacher rather than knowing everything that's going to happen. So that was quite brave, I felt, in just saying like, cool, this is me, take it or leave it kind of thing. So yeah, slowly giving myself more permission each time to just keep shining. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's really beautiful thing to acknowledge as well, that the fact that it is about like constantly taking just the steps forward. You know, if you jump, sometimes you might fall, you know, and that's been my journey. I just bloody jump anywhere and just see what happens. But actually most of the time I'm hanging off a cliff and I'm like crawling my way back up again. But I think doing it steady and like consistently, I think that's definitely it. I think that's been like a really beautiful theme, I think, to your like life and your journey, is that consistency to yourself, which is really nice to like see and witness, because I think you know, there's no wrong in life. I think we're all just ebbing and flowing and moving and grooving and wherever life takes us. But I think as we said, if that golden thread's always been integral to you, then you're always going to end up where you're supposed to be always. And I'm really like, I love watching all your stuff anyway. And like I said, I really connected. I think I did your class in lockdown and I was like, this is a vibe. I'm here for it. It's so different for me because obviously I'm so super full out and like, and I felt like to be controlled, like have that level of control and softness and delicacy, adding in like a little bit of sauce. I was like, oh, this is a vibe, you know, like just a little cute hit, not like a full bump and a grind. It was like a little, I was here for it. No, I love it, all of it. So yeah, I guess really and truly, like I guess what would be your kind of top tips for like what you would recommend for, you know, anyone that's maybe shy, maybe someone that feels like they want to take the next step, they don't really know how to. Maybe if you have like maybe 3 max top tips of what you would say.
I don't know why, but meditation is coming into my mind. I don't meditate anymore. I should be, and it's something that's always like, oh, get up, do it. But this whole thing about like the integrity thread that's kind of guided us throughout this conversation, and like like being aligned with something, that has helped me like not listen to the noise, which can be the shyness, because the shyness might be coming from a fear, or it might be coming from a trauma, or it might come from whatever it's coming from. But if you're in whatever way, you don't have to like sit down, meditate, however you find your alignment, like finding that alignment and really like kind of being kind of tenacious with that alignment. It's funny because normally tenacity is like, oh, I made this billionaire business and I really like loud. Actually, my tenacity is in that I'm going to try my best to stay aligned. And when I'm not hearing the alignment, then that's, I need to go back, and that has to be my big thing, right? So that when you are going through those steps and you're making a decision or you're not sure, at least you can always fall back on, oh, help me a little bit here, I'm not sure, something, I need a little bit of guidance, like you call on something, because it's hard. It's not, I don't think we're meant to do this all on our own. Like you said,
I
like the whole
agree.
healing journey, you went on your own, like, and even I think similar with me, but it's funny, I feel like a lot of people feel like they do healing journey on their own because you kind of have to, but then we also create spaces where you need to hit us hard. But yeah, like that, just that thing about finding a little support thing for yourself within yourself, which is great. Also using the tools around you, because social connection is really important, all of that kind of stuff, but also being able to, in whatever way you can find that alignment, connection to something that grounds you, it can help you answer questions on your way. So that'd be a top tip. Around being shy, I suppose it's
well, I guess, I mean, you don't
know.
have to change not being shy, you know, like if you're happy being shy, then that's beautiful. You know, I was just thinking, you know, like maybe because your journey was just stepping forward, but then equally, I think it's all part and parcel, isn't it? Because although you were shy, again, you knew what you wanted and you took those steps forward to being that. And you know, shy is not a bad thing. I would just want to make that very clear. You know, I actually admire shy people because I never was that, because I didn't allow myself to be that. And actually, probably times I was shy, but I pushed through it in a very toxic way. So I don't recommend that either.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, you're
no.
right. Because even like we said earlier, like the whole shyness thing is a good quality in that way. Like it allows us to be more reflective and stuff. But also sometimes when that shyness, you kind of know that you want to speak more, like you want to be a bit more louder. Like sometimes we see that and we're like, how do I do that? How are people doing that? Because you do admire, you know, like you might want to be a little bit shyer, or not shyer, but like, a little bit more reserved than other people that may look at you. I wish I was able to, you know, defend myself a little bit more, or speak up a little bit more, or not have the fear of, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't really have tips around it, but the thing that's coming to my brain is like being around other people like that, like yourself. I have friends that are more like, boom, and it's almost seeing them, oh, okay, and they kind of lift you. So like being around people that are slightly different to you, which is really quite rare. Normally you're like the loud groups together or the quiet groups together, but for whatever reason, the friend circle that I kind of grew up with was a big balance of personality. So there was always someone to lift up the shy person, or someone to reflect with the louder person, or something like that. So it kind of helped each other, because then you get to learn behavior. My sister is also very loud and kind of out there, whereas I'm the complete opposite. And just even watching her, how she navigates a room. Oh, that's a good idea. Let me ask this question. You kind of learn a behavior that you're not yet used to, right? So you're like, you practice something that you're not yet used to, which
Absolutely.
there's
It's
no
like that.
that.
That tribe thing again. You know, we all have different roles in the tribe, and I think that's really beautiful that you had that growing up as well. I think I didn't really have that as much through like school. It was probably like the more I got older, and then now I've got so many different friendship groups with people that are so different to me, and I love it. I love the fact that everyone's different and different cultures and religions, and that I think that I guess the more you connect with who you are truly and deeply, the right people gravitate towards you, don't they? Like you said, like we found like that common thread of our integrity, because we're going to bring that word back in. But yeah, no, I love all of what you said there, really. Yeah. And I think that is the power of the collective, is such a wonderful thing that I didn't utilize until probably the last few years. And I think now I really see the worth in it. Again, because I was scared to be vulnerable. And I think when I opened up about my vulnerability, you know, my thing now that I say in all of the talks that I deliver is that you don't realize how many people you inspire just being who you are. I think when we're open fully, we allow ourselves to be
that version, you know, whoever wants to be inspired can be inspired. Whereas when you keep it all to yourself and you're locked away, you know, whether that's through shyness or whether that's through defensiveness, is you're not letting anything in or not letting anything out. So I think it's just about, you know, allow yourself to open, however that looks. For sure. But no, thank you so much. And I think, you know, how I like to end it is like the soul to soul message. It's kind of like right now, you know, like I know you said you picked up on meditation there and that came to your head, and that was like that's guidance from the universe. They're telling you that. So yeah, I think, what is your soul to soul message? What do you have for a listener today?
What do I have today? Get the vibe. What am I feeling? I think the thing that's coming to me is that the difference is, like, for example, in me and you, right? There's, from the outside looking in, or however people might view it, even not just me and you, but like just people, you know, when you can look at two people or a group of people, there's such differences amongst us, but then there's also that common thread that has meant that we've maintained a friendship, that we're on this podcast together, we can have conversations, deep conversations like this. So it's always like, you just never know, right? Like you never know who can be your next friend, who can be your next, like, wow, that was some wisdom. I really need to go Google that and read more into that, or do that work on myself. Like, each of us has a different thing to bring, and it's not right, it's not wrong, it's not good and it's not bad. And I think that's something I'm learning. A lot of the times I would really, you know, that word should, I should have been like this, I should have been like this, I should do it like this. No, hold on a minute. Like, the way that I'm doing it is fine. The way that Sherisse is doing it is fine. Like, we're all going to be okay. At the end of the day, like, we're working our way. We're getting through what we need to get through in our way. And I'm trying my best to do that with everyone that I meet. Even if I'm like, oh, bloody, this is really annoying me. Like, this is really grating me. Whoever it is, I'm trying to just be like, I don't know what's going on for them internally. I don't know what context they're moving from. I don't know their previous interaction that was similar to this interaction now. And they also don't know mine. So just give everyone graces. There's so much variety here. So whatever you're doing, you're good. Keep it moving, and just, yeah, you're good, man. I think we just sometimes all just need that reassurance. Like, we're all like, oh God, have we got this? Have we got that? Everyone's okay. You're going to be okay. That's it. That's it, really.
No, thank you so much. And it really is that. I think that in life, the end destination that we're supposed to get to, we'll always get there. So no matter the path that we take in our life, where it's ups and downs or you get redirected, you'll always end up where you're supposed to be. And I guess that kind of is what you're saying, really, in a nutshell, is like, you know, if we just be in the moment more, enjoy it and take it all in, we'll always get there. And I think it's accepting all of you, isn't it? All of that stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, Priyanka. I feel like your the conversation was really rich, and I really enjoyed it. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
I've got my website, so that's I don't even know it. Do I know it? www.priyankachauhan, that's CHAUHAN.co.uk. I'm on Instagram, priyankachauhan.x, but I don't really use it, and I'm trying to not be too engaging on it, but I'm still there, because, you know, this is the world of today. So I'm on Instagram and my website. You can always drop me an email, stay in touch, get to know what's going on. Love to connect.
Amazing. And I'll pop all your details in the show notes as well, so people can find you there. But yeah, thank you again for such a beautiful and insightful conversation. And, you know, the theme that I will call the title is based around integrity, because I feel like that was the core of what we spoke about today. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you to you, Sherisse, for creating this space and allowing us to talk about this stuff. I rarely get to talk about things like this. And I think even as in the dance space or the arts creative space, sometimes this element of the conversation isn't what's focused on. It's more on the dance. So it's nice to be able to show that we are more than just that, because
absolutely. No, thank you. Yeah, that was the whole reason for it, the humanness.
Yeah.
See you later.
Sherisse Bisram, Inner Power Activation Leader for Women. If you are ready to up-level, to elevate, to ignite your inner flame, to burn everything you once were, to trailblaze into your future, into all of your manifestations and more, then head to my website to book a free 30-minute alignment call. I have one-to-one containers available for 90 days and 180 days. I also have an online program for 6 weeks. It's a group program for women called Permission to Shine. That's also available as a self-study as well. I have a journal available on Etsy as well as worksheets. There's multiple ways to work with me, and I'm here to help you. You deserve to shine, to be the most amazing, most confident, fearless version of yourself. What are you waiting for?